This is the Netherlands, present day. It's peaceful and tranquil now, but had you been here in May 1940, this was ground zero. On the morning of the 10th of May 1940, Germany launched its invasion of the Netherlands as part of Fall Gelb, the wider offensive against the Low Countries and France. The operation aimed to outflank the heavily defended French border by advancing through the Netherlands and Belgium before driving into northern France. The Dutch government had remained neutral since the beginning of the Second World War, hoping to avoid conflict as it had done during the First World War. Germany ignored this neutrality and attacked without a declaration of war. The German invasion force consisted of approximately 280,000 soldiers under Army Group B, commanded by General Fedor von Bock. The main ground formations included the 18th Army, led by General Georg von Küchler, supported by elements of the 9th Panzer Division and other motorized units. Air support came from the Luftwaffe, particularly WW2, commanded by General Albert Kesselring. Germany also committed around 430 transport aircraft, hundreds of bombers and fighters, and nearly 12,000 airborne troops, making it the largest airborne operation ever attempted at that time. The Dutch army mobilized around 280,000 personnel, although only about 230,000 were front-line troops. The army was commanded by General Henry Winkelmann. While the Dutch possessed a well-trained officer corps and determined soldiers, much of their equipment was outdated. They had very few modern tanks, limited anti-aircraft weapons, and an air force with fewer than 150 operational aircraft, many of which were obsolete. Dutch defensive planning relied heavily on flooding low-lying areas and holding fortified defensive lines such as the Grebbe Line and Peel Raam position. Germany's plan relied on speed, surprise, and combined arms warfare. Rather than attacking every Dutch defensive line directly, German commanders sought to bypass strong positions using fast-moving infantry, armoured units and airborne forces. The invasion demonstrated the growing effectiveness of blitzkrieg, combining close coordination between aircraft, artillery, engineers and rapidly advancing ground troops to overwhelm defenders before they could reorganize. One of the most innovative aspects of the invasion was Germany's use of airborne troops. Hundreds of Junkers Ju-52 transport aircraft dropped paratroopers from the 7th Flieger Division and landed air-transported infantry from the 22nd Air Landing Division near Rotterdam, Dordrecht, The Hague, and key bridges across the country's rivers. Their objectives were to seize bridges intact, capture government leaders, and prevent the Dutch army from reorganizing an effective defense. The airborne assault achieved mixed results. Around The Hague, German paratroopers suffered heavy losses. Dutch troops rapidly counterattacked, recaptured several airfields, destroyed many transport aircraft on the ground, and forced surviving German soldiers to surrender. Germany lost over 200 transport aircraft, damaged or destroyed during the operation, a serious setback to its airborne transport fleet. However, despite this failure, German forces successfully secured several vital bridges near Rotterdam and Dordrecht, allowing ground forces to advance. Along the eastern frontier, German infantry crossed into the Netherlands at numerous points on 10th of May. Engineers quickly built bridges over the rivers while infantry units crossed under artillery and air support. The Dutch Peel Raam position was breached within a day, forcing Dutch defenders to withdraw towards the stronger defensive lines further west. German mechanized units maintained constant pressure, preventing Dutch forces from establishing stable defensive positions. The most significant ground battle occurred along the Grebbe Line, east of Utrecht, between the 11th and 13th of May. German infantry repeatedly attacked fortified Dutch positions supported by artillery and dive bombers. Dutch soldiers fought stubbornly and launched several local counterattacks, temporarily regaining lost ground. However, continuous German pressure, better coordination and superior firepower eventually forced the defenders to retreat. The collapse of the Grebbe Line opened the route into the heart of the Netherlands. While fighting continued on land, the Luftwaffe dominated the skies. German bombers repeatedly attacked airfields, communication centres, railway junctions and troop concentrations. Most of the Dutch air force was destroyed during the opening days of the invasion, either in aerial combat or on the ground. German air superiority allowed their ground forces to move rapidly while limiting the Dutch attempts to reinforce threatened sectors. By 14th of May, German troops had reached Rotterdam. Negotiations began regarding the city's surrender, but during a period of confusion and miscommunication, German bombers proceeded with an air attack. The bombing of Rotterdam destroyed much of the historic city centre, killing approximately 800 to 900 civilians, injuring thousands more and leaving around 80,000 people homeless. The destruction created widespread fear that other Dutch cities would suffer similar attacks. Following the bombing, German commanders threatened to bomb additional Dutch cities if resistance continued. General Winkelmann recognized that the Dutch army could no longer effectively defend the country, particularly with German air superiority and advancing ground forces. On the evening of the 14th of May 1940, he agreed to surrender the Dutch armed forces in the European mainland. Fighting officially ceased on 15th of May, although Dutch forces in the province of Zeeland continued resisting alongside French troops until the 17th of May. The campaign lasted only 5 days, but Dutch resistance had been stronger than German planners had expected in several areas. German casualties amounted to roughly 2,000 killed and several thousand wounded, while Dutch military losses were approximately 2,300 killed and over 7,000 wounded. Thousands of Dutch soldiers were taken prisoner. Germany also suffered unusually heavy losses in transport aircraft during the airborne operations, reducing its ability to conduct large-scale airborne assaults later in the war. Following the surrender, Queen Wilhelmina and the Dutch government escaped to Britain, where they established a government in exile in London. From there they continued supporting the Allied war effort throughout the remainder of the war. Meanwhile, the Netherlands remained under German occupation for nearly 5 years. The occupation brought forced labour, persecution of the Jewish population, food shortages and widespread resistance activity. The invasion of the Netherlands demonstrated how modern combined arms tactics could overcome well-prepared defensive positions in a very short period. Although the Dutch army fought with determination and achieved local successes, Germany's superior mobility, control of the air, effective use of airborne troops, and rapid coordination between different branches of its armed forces proved decisive. The campaign also provided important lessons, both positive and negative, for Germany's future airborne operations, and marked one of the earliest demonstrations of the speed and effectiveness of blitzkrieg during the Second World War.